Hey,
What's happening?
what is going on,
You must
Graham?
be Ryan Boyles.
I am. Where did you hear that?
It's just a rumor that you
Okay,
are that
okay.
you have a
I
code
can
name, also known as the Rab,
I can now confirm that I am in fact Ryan Boyles. Hey,
and the
welcome
A
back.
stands for awesome, right?
Yes, yes, awesome,
Officially,
awesome,
legally, Ryan
awesome.
Awesome Boyles.
Or as you say it up there in the Great North, awesome, right, or something like that.
Yeah, no,
No, no.
but that
Okay,
was close.
all
But
right.
anyway, welcome to Week's End, friends, foes, maybe people who hate us also watch us. That's fine. You're
Yep.
also welcome. We're friendly to all here, and it's Friday. So this is your
Friday,
leading source
Friday.
of utterly useless knowledge, primarily focused around geeks, nerdish kind of sci-fi, pop culture, music, video games, movies kind of stuff. Maybe some books in there. Sometimes some toys.
Yep,
Maybe some action figures, as
yep,
really
yep,
we
yep, yep.
adults call them. But
Don't
other than
forget
that, it's
about
just good stuff.
we got
Don't
retro
forget about what?
tech. We got
Ooh,
retro
retro tech.
games. We got retro
We do.
everything. We're into retro
We do.
everything, really.
We do.
But we're gonna
You know why? Do you want to know why? You want to know why we're into retro? I'm going to tell
what's
you.
that?
You ready for this?
Give it to me.
It's because we're getting fucking old. That's why.
Yeah, that is true. This is true. This is true. This is true.
All right,
But you
let's
know what?
roll. What's first?
Let's talk about voting
Let's talk about voting. So, for those of you who, can you take us
for
to
our
full screen?
for our international
I like
viewers.
the full screen. It's
All
easy.
right, full
Oh
screen. Let's
God,
do
that's
it.
so much better. For those of you who may not know, I am an elections inspector. Hmm, very
Whoa.
official sounding here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And just in case you're not also aware of this, voting in the United States is very secure. So I don't want to hear
Here
any
we
of this
go. Here we
fraudulent
go.
elections BS, folks. Anyway,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
so I worked the elections. We had it was a municipal election, so mayor, city councilor,
Yep.
school committee, stuff like that happened here where I live. Um, it was really uneventful because
Yep.
an embarrassing 14% of eligible voters came out to vote, which is pathetic. So
Is that for your state or
um,
for your precinct?
no. Just it was just municipal. It was just the city. We didn't do
Gotcha.
anything beyond city.
Okay, gotcha.
But you know, I always enjoy working the polls. I get to hang out. It's really cool to see the process. One of the things I love, I don't know if I ever told you this. One of the things I love is that we have some very old Massachusetts traditions that are like law that have to be upheld. And one of them is when the polls open and when the polls close, a guy actually goes outside and rings a bell and says, "Hear ye, hear ye! The polls are now open or closed." And when he first did it, I was like, "Tim, are you kidding? Like, what are you doing? Why'd you just do that?" He's like, "You don't understand." And he holds the card. He's like, "I actually have to do this." He's like, "It's required." And I
Yeah.
was like, "That's just
Hey,
the coolest."
traditions are really important. I would say
Traditions are important, man.
I would even posit that voting is really important. And so to your point, we
Yes.
had so we only had mayor and county commissioner
Okay.
on our ballot this year, but
That's a big deal.
big deal. Um, we only had roughly 18 to 19% turnout.
Hmm.
So sounds like a bit higher, but not. It's still really depressing. When I went and voted at like 4 p.m., I was number 298 in my precinct, which is really,
Hmm.
really low.
That's pathetic.
So it's
I'm
pathetic.
telling you, it's
It really
ridiculous.
is. It
Now,
really
we've
is.
had the same mayor for 30 years. Okay. Now, I'm not going to comment on the fact that he's an utter shitbag, but other than that, to me, that's just like the reason we're stuck with the same mayor for 30 years is because no one's coming out to
True.
vote. Now, he had somebody run against him and he absolutely trounced the competition. And he's very popular here. I mean, whatever. But um in my humble opinion, based on what I saw in the the presidential election, if more of the populace had the population of my city had come out, I don't think this guy would still be our mayor. And I don't know, dude. I mean, I think voting needs to be a federal holiday. It needs to be employers need to be pushing people hard to take it off work. And if you can't take it off work, then it or I mean, ideally it should be on like a Saturday, right? It should be on
Right.
like on a Saturday, maybe even a Saturday and a Sunday, which
I would
I
agree
would
with that.
happily work the polls for
I
2
would
days.
support that.
I wouldn't even hesitate.
Yeah.
And I also think voting should be mandatory. And if you don't vote, you get a fine. I mean, signing up for selective service is mandatory. So why isn't voting?
Wait. You're trying to tell me what to do, Graham. That's not freedom.
No, I want to take away your freedoms and your liberty,
So vote.
but not your guns. You can keep the guns.
Well, I will say this, like
I want the guns.
our mayor was reelected for the 6th term, Mayor Vivian. She's a fixture. But I will say her challenger got 42%, which is and she got like 54% to win. So it was the closest race we've seen since we've lived here, and we've lived here for 17 years now. So yeah, there's definitely challenge, but I think to your point, had more of the representative population showed up, it might have been a different outcome. Who knows?
It probably would have. But anyway, let's move on. But
let's move on. Let's talk about
I guess
Halloween.
The moral of that story. Let me say one more thing. The moral of that story is 2 things. First of all, get out there and vote. And if you don't vote, in my humble opinion, as much as I love all of you, you're not allowed to talk about politics or make any judgments about what's happening in your state, city, county, state, country. Because if you don't vote, then like, what are you doing now? Assuming you're eligible to vote. Anyway, let's move on.
Speaking of old people, this really cracked me up. So we wanted to talk about some of our Halloween stories this week. Halloween fell on Sunday, so we didn't get to talk about it. We didn't even have a show last week. But this cracked me up. Did you see this? Steve Buscemi dressed up as the meme of himself saying, "Hello, fellow, how do you do, fellow kids?" and was giving out candy in New York City.
I did. Now, there's a couple of things I want to notate on this screen. Is first of all, shout out to Steve, right? Like that's just an awesome thing to do. Really cool. I'd love to know who's on the steps with him because that guy also looks familiar. I'd also like to point out that is an impressive haul of candy there. That is good. And he's not, and he's given that, like, you can take 1, maybe 2 look, which is good. Can you exit out of that full screen for a second? I want to notice something here.
Sure.
Looks like it's interesting. Oh, 90,000 likes. I got confused. I thought it was 1,192 likes because the guy below who did it got 2,200 likes, but I was misreading that. But anyway, yeah, man, I thought this was really cool. Tell me about your Halloween. What'd you do?
Well, I took last week off. We had our announcement with my costume on Twitter last week, but my wife and I took a trip down to Atlanta, Hotlanta as it's known. We decided that first of all, we wanted to tour the TVA.
My God, that's where I work.
So I just wanted to see where the magic happens. I wanted to kind of see, like, where are the time portals? Where can we see the archives? So we decided to make it happen.
The archives, I as you know, I work for the TVA. The archives start on the 32nd floor. The time portals are actually in sub-basement 12. Right. So you're looking up here. And so my office is on let's see, if you look up, you can see that first gap and then the second gap, and then 3 floors past that is where.
Here's a different perspective. The thing here, this is nice. Seems like you're looking down, but you get the most, I mean, to walk through this place, it's jaw dropping. The design looks like an alien ship, and it just incredible. The sense of vertigo that you get when you go up on some of the levels and seeing the express elevators, they just shoot up like a rocket, and it's just it's fun to see. But I wanted to talk about where I was. First of all, I wanted to say that I got to meet Kermit, one of my childhood heroes here, Mr. Kermit the Frog.
I don't know what that voice is I just tried to do there. Sorry. Go on.
Atlanta has the Center for Puppetry Arts, and they have a museum, and I would love to deep dive into this on a future show, but I just wanted to show some highlights here. Do you remember this guy from Fraggle Rock?
Sure do.
Yeah. Do you remember this guy from Fraggle Rock?
Sure do.
Oh man. And then my wife, do you remember this guy from Sesame Street?
Yep.
I mean, this place is mind-blowing. Sherlock.
That wasn't his name, though. He had a different name.
Look at there's the evil twin of Ernie there, Chad. This is the original Chad, people.
That's Bert.
Really cool. No, it's not Bert though. This is, if you look at the title card.
No, I know, but Isn't
So
that
this is like
wasn't that
either. So I don't know the
Brad?
history here. It's either an experimental version of Bert, or it's like an alternate character that they had on the show.
Interesting.
This was in one of the workshops where they had like
Got like a
a
snaggletooth
replicated
thing going on there.
workshop of
Wow.
how they built the puppets, and you could actually go into the drawers and see the materials and get hands on. Like for
Okay,
kids,
that's
like
really cool.
it's amazing. So
That's
this
super
was
cool,
cool.
dude. I love it.
This is me and my wife dressed up in our kind of spooky, kind of lumberjack outfits, I guess. And
Okay.
we were going to a concert. So the thing I wanted to get to here was to show off. I know I talk about the Avett Brothers a lot. This is the full band. They dress up when they do a Halloween show. They don't do one every year, but they always dress up as some kind of theme. They've done Wizard of Oz in the past, and as an ensemble, they dress
That
up
is
as the
top notch right there.
Universal monsters. And so
That
you've
is
got
top
Dracula,
notch.
this Medusa. Oh my gosh. You got Bride of Frankenstein. You've got Wolfman. You've got all the classics. You got Scott as the zombie, zombie doctor.
I like how the guy, the mummy, had sneakers on.
Oh yeah. Well, so he's the bassist, Bob. But yeah, they were it was stellar, and they were in character. So I have some videos that I can share in the comments, but they came out in character. So Bride of Frankenstein came out, and the monster of Frankenstein. They were stumbling across the stage.
Wow.
Seth the Dracula, he actually came out of a coffin. Like we didn't know he was on stage. Like he just like came out, and so it was like this whole progression.
That is cool.
Really cool.
That is super cool.
And of course, Scott's the biggest like ham. He's the one that's always like they describe him as a circus. So he was like doing the chomping, like throughout the show. He was like chomping and like making the rest of the band crack up because he was like doing method acting. So it was a lot of fun.
I didn't know
we had
you
a lot
liked
of fun.
the Avett Brothers. This is news to me.
Yeah.
So I didn't know you were into this band.
So I want to show one last thing, and we'll get off of Halloween. I just want to know. I want everyone to know that my niece here, Claire Love, she now embodies Ahsoka Tano.
That's awesome.
It's awesome.
That is so cool. Look at that.
So this is their first, like they have not, been exposed to Star Wars until now, but man, they love it. And I couldn't be a prouder uncle right now.
That's awesome, dude. I love it.
Yeah. All righty. Let's talk about some movie stuff. What do you think?
Let's do it.
All right. So I'm going to switch gears. And first, I thought you and I both were talking about Dune for a while, right? But we didn't get to see the film until like the day of our show 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
So let's spend some time talking about Dune a little bit more. And I just want to get your feelings for like what they got right and what you were hoping for and that kind of stuff.
Well, what I was hoping for was that they would not attempt to do too much. Right now, I love David Lynch's Dune from '84.
Yep.
I think it's '84. But the problem with that movie, I've always felt, is that they just tried to do too much. Right. Yeah. And so it gets a little ridiculous. Still, fantastic movie. I love it. This Dune did not try to do too much. In fact, you'll notice like the Emperor's not in it. They don't show them folding space. There's no third stage guild navigator. Like there's no weirding way. Like they kind of took a whole bunch of it out and decided that they would just focus on sort of the story, a little bit of Paul. Well, not a little bit, all Paul. I meant, all the stuff that was kind of extra, they took it out. I thought the film visually was stunning. Somebody once said, and I don't know who it was, somebody on Twitter said that every frame of this movie is a work of art. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see part 2. I'm glad to hear that's been greenlit. And I also thought it was better that they had a slightly younger appearing Paul. It was a little more Harry Potterish kind of thing.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. I prefer the blocky shields, to be honest with you, from David Lynch's film to the kind of buzzing shields they had in this movie. But anyway, that's just props, right, baby? I really felt that it was a very good movie. I really enjoyed it.
I want to ask you about this guy.
He's the real MVP. I mean,
I
the thing
thought
was adorable.
he stole the show for like 2 seconds.
For 2 seconds, this
Two
thing
seconds, and I was like, "Where?
stole.
I want to know his story. I want there to be three films, and we really get into the animal zoology of
Yeah.
Arrakis."
Well, I think the next movie will be huge. This movie, I think there were some people who felt that where it stopped was a little awkward. I don't
Yeah.
agree with that. I thought that it was really sort of the chapter ending of like, oh boy, now it's really starting to happen.
Right.
Starting to happen.
Right.
But
I think
I'm sure in the next one we'll see those things that were sort of missing from the first.
Well, we're going to see that transition, right? And I think having the history of watching the first the movie from way back in the 80s, like I think that one kind of makes you wonder, like, how are they going to handle it? And that, so you kind of, even the people that haven't read the book but have seen that film are kind of like expecting things in a way,
Yeah.
right? Which
yeah. Oh yeah,
it's interesting.
Yep.
I just thought it was also interesting. Jason Momoa's character, I guess there's a lot of debate over should he die, did he die, all of that kind of stuff, because he's supposed to be like indestructible. I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see. All right, let's talk about Resident Evil real quick. So there is a new trailer, and it's so gory and so awesome and so like horrific that we cannot show any of it on the screen here, but we want to talk about what we saw this week. They dropped a trailer, and to me I didn't know this was coming, and I'm like a Resident Evil fanboy, right? Like I didn't really, or maybe I just forgot about it. I know we talked a lot about Resident Evil earlier in the year when we had our friend Allie on the show.
Yep.
And they had the new game come out this year, which was awesome, and controversial in its own right for different reasons. But what did you think of this trailer? Because there's a lot going on.
When I think about the original video game, which I loved, and it genuinely freaked me out. I think that you kind of, you can't really do Resident Evil without it being scary, but also gory, but also a little over the top. And I think that this movie clearly accomplishes all three. I also think it's interesting how now every small Midwest town in America apparently has the same water tower, because I swear to God, it's the same one that's in Ghostbusters Afterlife. But, will I watch it? Yeah. Am I going to go to the theater for it? No. But I kind
of want to, though, because you get, I mean, unless you've got a really pro level theater, like I want to be immersed in it. So I probably would like to see it in the theater. We'll see.
Okay.
But for me, the water tower thing's interesting. I think here in Wake Forest, we don't have a water tower, so I feel like we're.
But Wake Forest isn't water tower worthy. You can't.
Right.
You're not. You guys aren't cool enough yet.
All right. Well,
you have to be a little more progressive. You've got
to aspire. We aspire to be worthy of water towers and zombie clowns, because so apparently there's an orphanage. So some of the elements that stuck out for me was there's like this creepy orphanage thing. There's a bit of clowns in here, which I don't dig that at all. So that's kind of creepy. But the one of the things, did you notice there was kind of a throwback to the original video game, since you mentioned that there's the scene where
I hope so.
The zombie looks over his shoulder when they're shining a flashlight into a room.
Yeah.
And that is like a classic throwback to the original game. So I really appreciate
from the first one that still sticks with me.
Yeah. All righty.
The way the girl pronounced Joseph as Yosef was really weird. But anyway,
right?
No, Joseph. It was really bizarre.
Well, I'm also excited that it's going to focus in on Claire Redfield and Chris Redfield. So those are core characters, and cool. We'll see who else pops up. We'll see if we get some Leon or some Jill Valentine or any of that. Let's talk about the French Dispatch. I wanted to spend.
Yeah.
I have not. I am very jealous. Because of my travel schedule, I've not seen it yet, but I definitely want to see it in the theater. And you did that, so tell us all about
it. I did. Well, look, I'm a Wes Anderson fan. For my money, I celebrate the man's entire catalog. I mean, really, it just he's fantastic. I love all of his work. And this one, is it his best? No. Is it very good? Yup. If you even moderately like Wes Anderson, you should see this film. But it's pure, unfiltered, raw. You ever like on a summer morning after
Where
it's
are you
been
going with
raining.
this?
Have you ever no? Bear with me.
Okay,
Follow
okay,
me
okay,
here. Have you ever after like a summer rain and there's a little bit of dew on the ground and you go outside and you just pick up a little bit of earth in your hand and you kind of go like this and you kind of take in a big whiff and it's like pure nature, unfiltered, raw.
Yeah.
It's just that's what this movie is. It's just the Wes Anderson version of that.
That is
So,
the most succinct,
but I'm right.
visceral movie review I've heard in quite a while, and that is high praise, I think.
Oh, so that reminds me, you're going to get a kick out of this. So, and you are going to go see the film, right?
Oh, without a doubt.
Okay, so check this out. So I put a tweet out earlier this week that said pitch a Wes Anderson film in 10 words or less. So my idea was female lighthouse keeper falls for an aspiring model train collector.
Nice.
And my buddy AJ, let me see if I can find this. I don't know if I can find it fast enough, but we started going back and forth on what that film could actually look like. Oh, here it is. So that was my pitch, right? Female lighthouse keeper falls for an aspiring model train collector. And then I said, she, Gwyneth Paltrow, is a gentle recluse, and he, Owen Wilson, is obsessive compulsive. But when they hear from her aging uncle / history professor, Bill Murray, about a pirate treasure buried on a sea-swept peninsula, they search for it and end up finding true love along the way. And then my AJ said, love blossoms, but tension builds when he realizes the constraints of building a shunting yard layout in a circular room. And then I wrote, later, she encourages him to let it go, and they disassemble the layout together, in slow motion, of course, only to realize they can reassemble it to reach the treasure that's blocked and can only be accessed through a small opening. The title of the film, The Narrow Gauge. Thank you. That's my Wes Anderson movie.
All right. Hollywood, if you're listening,
Hollywood, obviously they're listening. you Hollywood, if you want it, you got to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
And then
you got to come through the Rab. We'll get you hooked up with Graeme, who knows everything about Wes Anderson. Yes.
I'm your white knight. Let's do this.
I love it. Let's make it happen, folks.
Anyway, great film. Go see it.
2 more stories, and then we've got your rant of the week. So I don't know if you've noticed this, but I seem to have tumbled down the rabbit hole of NFTs, and I know some people view it as a dubious, speculative thing, and they don't quite understand the technology. And you're one of those people. However, here's the thing for me.
Technology, I just think it's a little dubious.
I mean, obviously, I love pop culture, art, comic books, all that stuff. So for me,
true.
And I'm a collector of things, of course, just like you are. So for me, I'm curious. I'm like NFT curious about like, where is this going to go?
Is that how you sexually identify, Ryan?
That's how you say.
I'm NFT curious.
Is NFT curious now? Yeah.
All right.
So I'm interested to see like the moves. Like games there are a lot of game movements this way. Like EA mentioned it as the future of the industry in their investor report this quarter. But one of the interesting things is
gaming industry, NFTs.
Yeah. So this is why I'm like, if they're saying that, then you gotta kind of pay attention, right? One of the cool things that we're going to talk about on a future episode, I'm sure, is the Matrix Resurrections. We talked about the trailer. They're going to release a bunch of NFTs to the fans at the end of this month on November 30th. So I'm just curious, dude, just to see like, how is it going to be used? Like, is it just JPEGs, or is there like some cool thing you can unlock? Or I don't know. The collector in me is just like really excited.
I guess if there's a path to it, right? Like you just said, unlock. I mean, I don't know, dude. I just don't think it's for me, but I'm glad it's for you.
All right. I'm making it a mission to lure you in and show you what it's all about. I also minted and bought my first NFT for using crypto, using some ETH. Got in on the ground floor on a whitelist, as they say in Discord, for Playboy. Playboy released a series of they're calling Rabbitars. So Cool stuff.
Oh my God.
Cool stuff, man.
Wait, rabbitars?
Rabbitars. So I felt like
You're
with
the rab?
my
Okay, that I can kind of
social name, I feel like, hey, we'll see. We'll see. So why don't you talk to me? I want you. I've been watching from afar as you've been out in the wetlands and the forests and ripping it up with your pals and your family on ATVs this summer. And
Yeah,
so
well,
I've been
we've had a lot
noticing,
of
I've
fun.
really been noticing that you're upping your game on these trailers and on your videos.
Yeah,
And I'm
man.
really like,
Why don't I talk about it? Why don't you roll the
hat
trailer?
tip to you. Yeah, I'm gonna
Well, I
bring one up.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. I mean, content creation is in my blood. Videography is something I've done since I was a kid. I mean, am I the greatest editor in the world? No. And, I'm not using anything crazy here, but I have a lot of fun putting these together. The writing is the part that's really exciting. So there's 4 of us that get out there. It's myself and my friend Ed and his son Nick and my son Connor, although we call ourselves Crew Chief, Daredevil, Big Red, and Hotshot, which is serious. We really do. It's that nerdy and fun. But this past week we went out and we went on our sort of home track, and we had very heavy rains here in Massachusetts, and it was entirely flooded and absolutely just wild what it looked like. And so you can see us there going through one part that actually wasn't even that bad. And what's really funny is you'll notice that sometimes I don't know why it stopped, but you'll see that the sport quads kind of go down the side of it, and my quad, yeah, it's frozen. Are you still seeing it as moving?
Weird. Okay, hang on.
That doesn't matter. And yet with mine, because it's utility, I can go right down the middle of any kind of flooding, and it's really cool. It was a lot of fun. So do me a favor, folks. Give those views a like or subscribe. You can find Black Cherry Garage on YouTube. You can certainly search for the words Black Cherry Garage on Twitter, and you'll find lots of trailers and links to videos that you can also share. But man, I would really appreciate it if folks would go ahead and take a look at those. And if you are a writer or if you have any feedback on these videos, I'd love to know. Some of them are long form on purpose because that's sort of how a lot of people do their writing videos. But also, I just want to show off all the fun and cool shit we're doing. So if you get a chance, take a look at Black Cherry Garage on the YouTube.
Dude, I love it. I'm just grooving to the music, bro. I'm like,
the music is good music.
I love it. I mean, I'm jealous. I need to come up.
It's fun. There's a lot of work that goes into it. There's a lot of prep and a lot of cleanup. I mean, we go out for several hours at a time, but there's also there's a good solid hour or 2 on either side of that to get everything cleaned up and put away. And it's just the bonding experience with my boy. It's worth every penny, every hour we put into it. Really,
honestly, any extracurricular with sports like that. I mean, think about it. It's the same as owning a boat, where the pleasure part of the boat is like small compared to the prep and the storage and the cleaning, and it's a whole process. And what you're doing with the video, again, the video stuff is really cool to me, because you're like, the way you're experimenting with some of that is just pretty cool.
Yeah, well, so for that, the sort of the opportunity for content creation, I find sort of irresistible, which is a big sort of factor of it for me. And we have GoPros and cameras and mounts and everything. I just bought a new mount, a quick release mount that made a huge difference. We put cameras under the quads. This next time we go out, we're going to go put it in the middle of the track and everyone's going to drive over. I mean, so it's also challenging us to try new things and think of new things and kind of get really creative. And to me, that's where it's at. So it's really great.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got time for one last thing. Your rant of the week.
Look, dude, I can keep this. You don't even need to go put me on full screen. This is going to take 2 seconds. Meta. Suck. What the hell, dude? What are you doing?
Do I need to bleep and blur this a little bit? Or
garbage, awful, democracy smashing platform, but before you try to all get everybody into this Oculus universe, which, as far as I could tell, there doesn't seem to be a lot of demand for it. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe billions of people sign up for it. I mean, whatever. But Jesus, really, dude, just stop. Just stop. I don't know. And then changing the name, and I'm done. That's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Here's
The
my
metaverse, like, I'm not interested.
here's my observation is that they're trying to make Facebook relevant, and they know that like people
Yeah.
our age and older are the primary base now.
No.
And so they think just changing their name and kind of toying with avatars and stuff is going to somehow make young people flock there.
Stop trying to make it happen. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. So here's my point. And here's the test. Here's the real test. Did your son or my sons even hear or pay attention or care about any of this crap?
One no, one yes, both no. So one heard about it, one didn't. Neither one care.
Yeah, but they heard about it. They heard about it through seeing memes making fun of it.
Correct. And he actually has an Oculus. I don't think he uses it anymore. Now, I understand that means it has to have a Facebook account attached to it. There was some dummy account that was set up to support it. But
the point is, no one under the age of 20 is going to somehow say, "Oh, Facebook's cool now. I'm going to go there."
No,
I'm going to go there. Like, it's just, it ain't happening. And that includes, I think that even includes places like Instagram. I think Instagram, as popular as it is.
Ryan, I don't even think he cares. I don't even think they care. I think it was a diversionary tactic because the news is so bad and their numbers are crumbling and the platform is garbage. It's dangerous to use. I mean, it's just 100%. Flat out dangerous. That I honestly believe that they don't even care about the metaverse. They're just doing it as a distraction play. And if they're not, look, I'm sure there is a market of people who will use it. Yes. Is it going to be the sort of second coming of what Facebook was? No. That's happening. It's called TikTok.
Or Discord,
I'm not saying those are two things.
There's a number of other places.
I understand the differences. I'm not saying those are comparative. I'm saying that like they have lost their opportunity, in my humble opinion, at being competitive in the market in a new way.
Right.
Because their edge is gone. I mean, you know what they need to do? They need to spin off some of their properties, just like our employer did. And they need to get rid of him. They need a new chief at the helm. He can be CTO or I don't care what, but like that guy has to go. And he's not going to. And until that happens, they're garbage.
Chief Android officer?
I don't care.
I don't know.
Just go away, dude. You've got $1 bajillion. Just go surf into the sunset. Leave the earth alone.
To watch the showcase video that they did with featuring whatever that weird environment was, like it was the most bizarre. I was just like, who in PR approved this? Just it's really bizarre. So anyhow,
so anyway, rant complete, because that's it. It's just like, what the fuck?
Well, guess what, folks?
That's it.
That's episode number 64. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for hanging 64. out. Thanks for nerding around with us on WeeksEnd. As always, I am the Rab. This is Graeme.
There you go.
This is Graeme Knows.
I'm right here.
We're still getting our visual cues down here.
Right.
But anyhow, we've had fun. I hope you have too. Let us know what you think down in the comments.
Put my arm around you.
You can tweet at us at the Rab or at Graeme Knows. We'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to have who wants to join us on the show, because we're doing guests throughout the fall and winter as well. So
we are. Come play with us, Graeme. Danny, and you're here forever and ever and ever.
Woo! Okay, we're ending it. Thanks, everybody. Talk soon.
Cut.
And we're out.